Moving into my new apartment is taking a lot longer than I thought, so for this video we're just gonna have to do it in this white void. But don't worry, just pretend that this thing emphasizes the hearts of the community that we're about to talk about. So I'm sure most of you are familiar with the Manosphere, right? Your MGTOWs, your incels, your pickup artists. Men who hate women because they either are lonely, have had bad experiences in relationships, or just can't get laid. And you know what, that sucks. I don't want to act like I'm justifying the hatred and sometimes violence that these men have caused, but part of me has always felt sorry for them. A lot of them seem like they were just sad and frustrated and got dragged into a cult. And thankfully there are lots of people online calling this shit out and possibly getting these men a means of escape. But what about the other side? Since women have to do everything men do, both the good and the bad, surely there must be an equivalent for the fairer sex, right? Enter Female Dating Strategy, a community that spreads across several websites but are most prominent on Reddit. I've been keeping an eye on them since late last year when they had only about 90,000 followers. And at the time of me finishing editing this, they have this many. Not many people have talked about it, and frankly, I want to kill this before it grows. This subreddit needs to be banned. Now, on the surface, it seems mostly harmless, possibly even empowering. It boasts itself as a place for women to learn to date in a smart way so as not to waste their time. You'll get a bunch of self-gratulatory stuff like, "Congratulations on your breakup cakes," or treating themselves with manicures and rings. On the surface, that's really not that bad, but on the surface, MGTOW isn't bad, because then you get into the BuzzFeed bullshit-style rants about men. Most men take more than they give. Why do they lie? What is it with men not being able to hold a conversation? Men disappoint me in every area of life. You know, that kind of bullshit. Stupid and cringe, but mostly harmless. But then you get into the way more harmful shit. The stuff that sounds like it's coming from The Transformed Wife or Abby Shapiro. Except these women are leftists. I think. Their Twitter is filled with retweets of AOC and Elizabeth Warren, and they really loved when Reddit broke Wall Street, so I guess they're like reverse libertarians. Give us Medicare for all, but don't you dare give us gender equality. We want gender equity, aka female superiority. Some may say these women are just trolling. Hell, here they are comparing themselves to Sauron, the bad guy from Lord of the Rings. But I don't think so. If they're trolling, then this is the most elaborate act I've ever seen. And if it is a joke, then it has the same mentality as like prison rape jokes, where it's like, we're calling out the bad thing by laughing at the victim. And please don't think I'm going full MRA on you. There is much more wrong with this sub than just man bashing. But that's still a big problem.
Let's generalize about men. Let's generalize about men.
You know how the Manosphere has degrading names for women like femoids and roasties? Well, these women have their own name for men they don't like. Scrotes. Yes, really. Now look, I get that throughout history, men have done some seriously bad things to women, to say the least. And I understand why most women would be cautious around men they don't know. But looking over some of these posts, it seems these women just can't have a healthy relationship with any man. Not even like their father or their brother or any other family member. You see, these women operate on the mentality that men only want sex and aren't interested in any other aspects of a relationship. And anytime a man does something nice for a woman, it's for sex. That is all we care about. We only see women as sex objects. And all of the bad things are only done by men, such as cheating, even when our significant others are on their deathbeds, or when they're pregnant. And we're also just poorer partners than women are. And important to note, it's not just a few bad apples, it is most of the male species. We are all terrible. These women have such a black and white way of thinking, but it's not even consistent. According to them, we are both too incompetent to do anything without the help of our mommies or girlfriends. We can't feed ourselves, clean up after ourselves, wash ourselves. But at the same time, we're evil masterminds who are able to manipulate women to do anything we want. They pretend they didn't know a woman was flirting with them. Overly jealous girlfriend alert. Men learn how to manipulate women by learning to manipulate their mothers. Many of the undesirable behaviors we see in men organize in early childhood. That's why we say to block and delete at the first sign of disrespect. His bad habits are too deeply ingrained in his psyche. He will not change unless he wants to, and even if he wants to change, it will probably take years of therapy. Since most men resist admitting fault and resist going to therapy to sort out their issues, such men are largely beyond help. You cannot change him. Yes, we are so evil that even as children, our male brains learn that we could get out of chores by doing them badly or throwing temper tantrums. Okay, girls do that shit too. No, it's only boys, and they learn this bad behavior from their fathers and the media. What other ways do we show off our cartoon villainy? Well, we hurt animals, because no woman has ever abused an animal. We'll break up with you on your birthday. Most of us are pedophiles, of course. I mean, that's just a given. If men are biologically attracted to teens, they need to stop being teachers. Lady, if someone is telling you that men are biologically attracted to teens, he is attracted to teens and just trying to excuse it. These are the women who absolutely assume that any man alone with a child is trying to molest them. And of course we're rapists. We men just love raping, don't we? And violent. We're mostly violent. Like every single one of us will use violence to get what we want. We love beating women and children, don't we? We'll only date you to get close to your male family members. Okay, that's a new one. We'll purposely hurt our daughters because of some unspoken male code. They want their daughters to run home crying. If men set their daughters up for success, they'll get left behind. Every LVM's nightmare. When young girls get their hearts broken, LVMs say, "I told you so," or "Bet you wish you would have listened." It's a power play, and dudes run rampant because they know there's an unspoken agreement that most men have with each other. The LVM in the streets gets unattached sex, and the LVM fathers get a reformed daughter who won't fight back against him anymore, since he's her only chance if she goes back home. Man, is this something you learn when you become a dad? We'll use grief to manipulate you. We'll think about other women while having sex with you. We'll condemn bad behavior from women that we wouldn't in men. They will find the worst men on the fucking planet and just say, "This is how all men are." Most men are vultures, waiting for vulnerable women to abuse. Okay, seriously, are there any good men out there? Well, yes, FDS puts men into 3 categories. High-value men, low-value men, and no-value men. At least in theory. They pretty much always use low-value men to refer to any man that does something they don't like, including rapists and abusers. But yes, let's just go down the list of low-value men behaviors, shall we? Being annoying for one. I mean, what qualifies as annoying is different for everyone, and saying one sex is more annoying than the other is pretty sexist, but okay. Gamers are pretty bad because these women are stereotypes of what 2016 reactionaries thought every feminist was. Men can be a gamer, or he can have a girlfriend, not both. Female gamers exempt because women who game tend to manage their time better and have other hobbies, friends, etc. You are trying so hard to get Sargon of Akkad to notice you. They will try to get you to accept their white supremacist, misogynist, and homophobic rhetoric under the guise of either being ironic or saying they are redefining the meaning of these concepts and the slurs that accompany them. No, these women are not dating teenagers. Most of them are in their 30s and 40s. Yeah, keep that in mind. Giving promise rings is bad because it shows he's not ready for commitment. Watching anime is bad, and the only reason I can think of is because they think all anime is this, which is a little bit racist. Taking drugs. No, not being a drug addict, just occasionally smoking marijuana. Not having much furniture. Having flat pillows, which I feel personally attacked here. Being a car guy because how dare they have a hobby that isn't focused around me. Being a slob, of course. There are a lot of posts about how awful a man is if his apartment is messy. But if his apartment is too clean, he's probably cheating on you.
Doesn't make any sense.
Having a TikTok is a deal breaker because you're probably just looking at half-naked girls. In fact, men shouldn't have social media at all because we treat all social media like Tinder. I guarantee you that over 90% of men's Instagram activity is spent seeking out women they want to have sex with, messaging those women, and tapping into the vast supply of free softcore porn that pygmies provide on the app. We'll discuss the pick-me shit later, but holy shit, lady, that's a bold claim. Being a personal trainer is bad because you'll cheat on her with clients. Being a sports rap or rock star is bad because you'll cheat with your fans. Finding women beautiful is apparently bad. Wanting to have kids. Because you see, we want to create little slaves that will take care of us when we're older. Yes, there are parents like that, but it's something both men and women are pretty guilty of. Being divorced is bad, I guess. I mean, after all, someone vetted him. Liking dogs more than cats because we don't like getting consent and just want something that will obey us without question. Not really being into Valentine's Day. Being indecisive. Not immediately texting you back, even if he's busy. Spitting. Farting. Having a podcast. Not dating you. When they can't control you, they reject you. Yes, the only reason a heterosexual man wouldn't want to have sex with me is because they just can't control me. Good God, how fucking arrogant do you have to be? And honestly, there's more, but we don't have the time. Just know that you cannot change. Reminder, if you see low-value men acting right after they acted wrong with you, those men are still low-value men. And look, these women are perfectly within their right to not date men with these qualities. If you don't want to date men who do drugs, or slobs, or are indecisive, fine. They think these qualities make us bad people, and no one should date us. But anyway, that's just how men act. Let's see these women's view on money.
Girls don't like boys, girls like cars and money.
Calling these women gold diggers is an insult to gold diggers. At least they only go after rich people. These women don't care how much money you have, but you better be spending as much as possible on them. Low-value men love to argue that 50-50 relationships are fair because women have so many privileges. Here's a reminder that you'll be able to read whenever their brainwashing starts working on you, and it becomes hard for you to stick to your standards. The exhaustion and the hardship that you feel sometimes just trying to survive in a society as a woman is completely valid. You're not overreacting, and you're not being unfair when you demand that a man provide in a relationship. Because men have oppressed us for years, let's keep that oppression going in ways that benefit us. 6 reasons why we insist men should pay for dates. It discourages red pill men. Yeah, because red pillers are the only ones who think you should split 50-50. Risk mitigation. When a date goes poorly for a man, he's out of the cost of dinner. When a date goes poorly for a woman, she gets assaulted, raped, or kidnapped. More men are pursuing women, so it's on men to show why they are the best candidate. It's basic economics. We're not talking economics, we're talking dating. What the fuck? There are a lot of these posts. The very idea of a woman contributing anything on a date is laughable. And if you're scared of being used just for a free meal, so you agree money is all you have to offer. But even if you think you can maybe play it safe and go on a cheap date, nope. The concepts of walk dates, coffee dates, Netflix and chill are insulting to them. In fact, the first date should be at a restaurant. I had some recent conversations with a small group of low-value men saying how they never take a woman to a restaurant for the first or second date. They said that instead they'll take a woman to the movies or an event like a festival for the first few dates. They hesitate to take her to a sit-down restaurant in fear that she will order the most expensive things and she'll ghost afterwards. That's perfectly fair. These women keep going on about how dating is a vetting process. Why shouldn't these men vet to make sure they're not being used? You complaining is kind of proving his point. I have 3 dates this weekend, each at Michelin-starred upscale restaurants, lunch, dinner, brunch. All 3 men suggested a casual meetup because it's a first date and I politely declined. Then they came correct. It's true that men are always trying to lowball women. Absolute weirdos.
What a bitch.
Be girlfriend material. Make it expensive to take you out to filter out low-effort men. Oh, and don't think it stops at dates. If you, for some reason, plan to marry one of these women, you better go all out on the engagement ring. Here's a post about a woman who said yes when her boyfriend proposed with a piece of string. Their response? The bar is so low, it's underground. Because it's not about spending the rest of your life together, it's about getting that fucking diamond. You do know diamond rings are a scam, right? Adam Ruins Everything has a full thing on it. Check it out. Here's a post about a woman upset that her ring only costs $250. Oh, and the proposal itself has to be expensive. Take her on a trip. And the wedding. After all, She needs to feel special. These 30 to 40-year-old women have the mindset of 8-year-olds binge-watching princess movies. You deserve nice things. Don't accept any man who tells you otherwise. I cannot afford to give you a Ferrari, Stacy. Unless he's consistently investing his resources in you, he has no place in your life. Never feel bad spending a man's money. If he gives you shit, dump him. I don't want your dead grandmother's wedding ring with the spirit of your broke, impotent, cheating granddaddy hovering on my finger. Get me my own ring, you bitch! Oh, this ring has sentimental value to you and you want to give it to me as a token of your love? Fuck that shit. Your grandpa was a limp dick loser and you'll probably end up the same. He better be getting you presents for Valentine's Day. FDS isn't just about dinners. Buying a woman chocolates, flowers, and stuffed animals on Valentine's Day is not an original thought. How many of you actually like random assorted chocolates, jewelry you didn't pick out, giant stuffed animals, flowers? I bought my 7-year-old daughter chocolates and flowers so no dusty ass will impress her with cheap stuff on Valentine's Day. I'm not gonna lie. Some of this just straight up gets into classism. Like they claim you don't have to be rich to be high value, but their examples of high value behavior is buying expensive beauty supplies. And this. My father had a PhD, always had a job no matter what, treated my mother like a queen, bought her beautiful flowers every week, beautiful jewelry and shopping sprees to her heart's desire, sometimes beyond credit limits, but he handled that. Men, ruin your credit score to please your wife. Here's a post literally saying do not date broke men. For a bunch of leftists who stan AOC and Elizabeth Warren, they don't seem to mind capitalism when it benefits them. Here's a post by a woman who just bought herself an $800 necklace on a whim. This is Karen's, the subreddit. They even want super elaborate dates during a pandemic when you aren't supposed to be going to restaurants. In order for a man to prove his love to you, he has to spend tons of money and get really elaborate with gift giving or else he doesn't really care. Don't pay one of my bills to show you love me. Buy flowers that'll die in a week. That's real love. But hey, if these women only care about money, then that means they won't care about your looks, right? I mean, it's not like they would body shame men just to make themselves feel superior.
He's my trophy boy, my trophy boy.
Look, you should be able to date people you find attractive. If you have high physical standards, fine. But there comes a point when it goes from rejecting to bullying. The Manosphere does this a lot. I'm sure most of you are familiar with the concept of the wall, this stupid idea that once a woman hits a certain age, sometimes it's 30, sometimes it's 35, sometimes it's 40, they are no longer sexually attractive to any man. It's bullshit, and sometimes FDS will disprove that by showing images of beautiful women over that age. That's a great way to show these sexist assholes that women can still be beautiful after a certain age, but most of the time, they just body shame men. And again, they don't have to find these men attractive. But saying that no one will find them attractive is what high school bullies do. You got these things where they take a group of people they don't care for and make them seem like huge basement-dwelling losers. Sometimes they'll just post profiles of men on dating apps or just random images, and the joke is that they're supposed to be ugly even though they're mostly decent-looking dudes. Like, what's wrong with this guy? He looks good in both pictures. There's many a category of shaming in this subreddit. Of course, there's the classic height shaming. Here's a post of some player on the Dodgers, I don't know who, standing on a bucket to do his interview. Ha! He's shorter than a woman. Let's laugh at him. Remember to subtract 5 inches from a man's height. Laugh emoji. They also posted this god-awful video by a ContraPoints wannabe that has this line.
Like, girl, just because you're comfortable dating your schmoll, bean, schmeagle-sized mousy boy that lives in the wall and eats cheese, doesn't mean that you have to bully the rest of us into liking that kind of thing.
Yeah, because you seem like such a catch woman who has videos titled The Return of Low-Rise Jeans, In Defense of Depop Girls, and How to Build a Routine and Organize Your Life in 5 Days.
You're basic.
Do not shame other women for not finding your boyfriend attractive. Like, just because you're into bestiality doesn't mean the rest of us are.
This woman has over 300,000 subscribers. Fat shaming. I had a horrible experience dating a 38-year-old in December. Proper potbelly, skinny limbs, when men over 30 with a beer belly wear skinny jeans to look younger. Here they are mocking Leonardo DiCaprio for having what is essentially a dad bod. This isn't even fat. I will be ecstatic if I look that good in my mid-40s. Oh, but if a woman is overweight, that's okay. She still deserves to have high standards, which I agree with. Just hypocritical. Dick shaming, because what would a sub like this be without mocking some dicks that aren't 10 inches long? Beard shaming, apparently that's a thing. And of course the one I'll love talking about, bald shaming. I recently saw my now 25-year-old ex who lied to me, used me as a human fleshlight, then dumped me 4 years ago. He now needs to wear glasses and his hairline has receded 3 inches back. Isn't karma beautiful? Someone here recommended drawing your ex. Oh, look at mine. He shaved his head to hide he was going bald. Bald men may be hit harder by coronavirus, scientists fear. Follicle challenges 2020. Men out here using their beards and hats to cover a weak chin, undefined jawline, acne scars, skin discoloration, their lack of masculinity, and a turtle-shaped lumpy head. Fuck you too, lady. They even body shame when there's plenty of other things to complain about. Remember QAnon shaman guy from the storming of the Capitol? Here they are saying he's a stay-at-home dad who is addicted to drugs and, judging by the telltale bald head, a porn addict as well. The jokes write themselves, ladies. So if you're bald, you're addicted to porn? Oh, we'll come back to the porn later. FDS needs to be shut down because they are body shaming men. LMAO, okay little bitch, welcome to our world. So you body shame even though you know it's wrong. Look, we'll come back to men later, but I think it's time we focus on how this community harms other groups because much like how the Manosphere doesn't actually like men, my god, does female dating strategy fucking hate women.
She wears short skirts, I wear t-shirts.
You know how the Manosphere has names for men they don't like cuck and simp? Well, FDS also has names for women they don't like who don't agree with their ideology, and that name is Pick-me-shas. Pick-me-shas. Now, while researching, I learned that pick-me's is an actual term used by non-crazy people, and it's basically a more extreme version of the not like other girls girl where they shame women while trying to pander to men. That is not what FDS means when they refer to someone as a pick-me-sha. To them, a pick-me-sha is just a woman doing anything nice for a man, such as doing something for the men in your life on Valentine's Day, sticking with your boyfriend despite him having commitment issues due to toxic past relationships, getting your boyfriend a part so he can fix his truck, buying beer for him and his friends, not expecting him to be able to give you everything when he's a university student with a part-time job, getting a tattoo with your fiance's name on it, putting any effort into dates. That's the man's job, bitch. You better know your fucking place. Missing a man after he breaks up with you. Canceling on your friends so you can be with your boyfriend. How much you want to bet that this should be standard practice for high-value men? Of course, proposing to a man, that's a big one. Here's a TikTok of a woman making meals for her boyfriend while he plays video games. We know nothing about the rest of the relationship, but to them, this is bad. Here's a couple more women cleaning men's apartments while they're away. What fucking whores. Apparently, Simone Biles is a pick-me-sha because she bought her boyfriend a PS5. All of these are the worst things a woman can do. And much like how they'll compare low-value men to rapists and abusers, if you are a pick-me-sha, you are on the same level as those women who lust after murderers and the ultimate pick-me-sha, Ghislaine Maxwell. They want to control every aspect of how women think. Do you enjoy watching your boyfriend play video games? Pick-me-sha, we get to judge your boyfriend. If we think he's a mama's boy or a man-child, you are committing child abuse. We know what's best for you, so if we say dump him, you dump him. Because, women can't make decisions on who they date. In fact, women shouldn't even start dating until they hit at least 18. Hey women, ignore your emotions. Do you have a crush on someone? Well, you shut that shit down right now. There are 0 benefits to having a crush. Crush that crush right out of you. It's a man's job to have a crush. If you have a crush on him, you're giving him all the power. Keep your heart on lockdown until he has demonstrated consistently that he cares about making you happy. Do you miss your ex? Well, that's just your period. You'll get over it. Horny? You better figure a way to control that so you don't do something foolish. After all, you have to wait at least 3 months before you have sex with someone. Your desires be damned. You yourself can't be friends with a pick-me-sha because she'll drain your energy. And do you disagree with us on anything? Well, then you're not a real feminist. Real feminists don't care about men's issues. Real feminists don't pay for dates. Real feminists ruin their friends' relationships. Real feminists are sex negative. And that's before we get into the SWERFS shit. But before that, what other bigotries do these women have?
This is who I am. This is who I am now.
How about some subtle racism? Treat every man like a felon until proven otherwise. That's the mentality that gets black men killed by police. Why I dislike most men of my nationality. All men are bad, but men from certain nations and races are worse than others. Reminder to watch out for white-worshipping men. In my own experience, brown men who have healthy relationships with their moms are less likely to white-worship. This whole post is basically saying that men of color only want white women to fuck and then settle down with a woman of their own race to please their parents. So apparently you can't date outside your race. My son learning about Jackie Robinson is bad because he cheated on his wife. I can only find a few sources that say he maybe was seen coming out of a hotel once with a white woman. But even if it were true, he still was a very important role in the civil rights movement. How can I know if a guy is dating me because he wants Western citizenship? Getting Western citizenship isn't worth it. How about some ableism? 8 types of low-value men from How to Spot the Dangerous Man Before You Get Involved. Now we got some obvious examples, the violent man, the predator, but it also includes the mentally ill man. Yep, if you have a mental illness, you are undateable. Have bipolar, PTSD, OCD, you are a low-value man. Oh, and another example is the addict. Addicted to something? Sorry, substance abuse equals low-value man. Depressed men are low-value because they'll be violent. Sure, we could address that by changing in society so men can deal with depression by admitting it and not being seen as less manly. But remember, feminism shouldn't care about men's issues. Here's a post about a woman whose boyfriend has sensory issues with texture due to autism, so he's a pretty picky eater. She asks if there's any good meat substitute since both of them are trying to cut down on meat consumption, and their response? If you remove the context from this post, you'd think it was a mother writing about her toddler son. Why do pick-me-shas coddle these man-children like this? Sis, let him cook for himself. Genetic counseling before having children. Okay. Being a single mom is hard, but being a single mom to a special needs child is much more challenging. The man you choose to be your children's father is extremely important that I'd engage in genetic counseling before having children. Wow! That's some Nazi shit right there. Now I'm sure most of you are wondering by this point, are they TERFs? It's complicated. They say they don't allow transphobia, and I honestly couldn't find many posts on their Reddit that were that transphobic. There's this one where they bitch about unisex bathrooms, which is only like 1 degree away from saying trans women shouldn't be allowed in women's spaces. I think they saw what happened to r/gendercritical and realized they couldn't be openly hateful to trans people on Reddit. But they sure as hell can on Twitter. Just sprinkle white women or TERF on your misogyny and you'll never have to worry about being chin-checked. Denying the reality of sex renders unmalleable women's shared condition and the focus of our oppression. Hashtag sex not gender. Here they are yelling at Fallon Fox. Remember her? You know, Women's Rugby did a study and found that allowing trans women to play increased women's risk of injury by 20 to 30%. I guess they figured out the whole team's being injured trying to compete against males affects the bottom line. What I learned today is that males can literally redefine words and concepts that have been in existence since the beginning of humanity to their own advantage whenever they feel like. Hashtag Biden erased women, hashtag sex not gender. I'm struggling to understand what the masculine and feminine traits of a hen versus a rooster are, so we can tell who the trans hens are. I might have been misgendering my chickens the whole time. My tribe accepted trans women along with other genders, and just because an indigenous culture participates in something, it doesn't magically make something not sexist or misogynist. Some racism mixed with the transphobia. So you accept that you think what's between your legs defines you as a woman? Third grade reproductive biology should have already taught you about a woman's reproductive system. I'm sorry, the educational system has failed you so much that it's hard for you to grasp. But don't you see, pretending white males can change their sex somehow helps black women be perceived as less masculine by white people or some nonsense. Trans people are not only white, and pretending they are is ignoring the struggles of black trans women who get murdered at unbelievably high rates. You can't just add the white label to discredit something. Believe me, if I could, I would have been able to end Mars Girl's career years ago. Here's one literally posted by a user called TERFs Are Awesome. And it was through that post that I found out about Over It, which is basically TERFs the website. If there's one thing I learned going down that rabbit hole, it's that cis lesbians are the cis straight men of the queer community.
Hang your coat for this wet ass pussy. He bought a phone just for pictures of this wet ass pussy.
For those who don't know what a SWERF is, it stands for Sex Worker Exclusionary Radical Feminist. If you are a stripper, prostitute, adult film star, have an OnlyFans, these women do not respect you. There is no such thing as safe sex work. You cannot argue for the Institute of Prostitution without arguing for men's rights to buy their way into a woman's body. And if you argue for women's bodies as products in the service of men, you're not only no feminist, you've yet to discover what the word means. No, I'm pretty sure women getting to choose what they do with their bodies is one of the pillars of feminism. Here's a post reacting to the Atlanta spa shootings that says liberals can't champion sex work while talking about the dangers of it. The shooter hated sex workers, so let's give him exactly what he wants by punishing sex workers. I mean, they will use their anti-sex worker stuff to bitch about men. A man paying for my nudes is empowerment, but a man paying for my dinner is regressive? A thought about sex work. Your clients don't think you are working, they think you are performing what every woman should do for free. Prostitution shouldn't be legal because even in countries where it is legal, women are still trafficked and forced into it. Yeah, but it's much less. Legalizing and regulating prostitution will make it much safer. These women just seem very sex negative in general. Your being sex negative is so insulting to women. True sex positivity for women is impossible to achieve in a patriarchal world. Requiring women to be sex positive before dismantling patriarchy is such a fuck you to women. Look, I'm sorry. I'm sorry you've never had good sex, but just because it's always sucked for you doesn't mean it's always sucked for all other women. Why are there so many sex and relationship advice articles from women whose only qualifications are 1. Sleep around for attention, 2. Are addicted to drugs, 3. Have sex for money, 4. Are conventionally attractive with low self-esteem, or 5. Have an untreated mental illness? Wow, anyone else you want to insult? They fucking hate BDSM because their only source for BDSM is 50 Shades of Grey, so it is always a man beating up a woman, and they love kink shaming. Please let 2021 be the year we are allowed to kink shame again. I'm about done having to read about people's gross fucking sex lives and then everyone acting like adult men shitting in diapers on purpose are a protected class. Sex with these women sounds fucking awful, by the way. It is his job to make you come. You don't stimulate yourself. A high-value man unapologetically makes you come as much as you like. When you decide to end things but he hasn't come yet, that's okay. A high-value man knows that his orgasm is his job. And they fucking hate porn. Like, I can't explain how much these women hate pornography. All of it, not just Pornhub. As far as they're concerned, all pornography is coercive, and most of it is just rape fantasies featuring women who were probably sex trafficked into doing it. Now, I'm not gonna act like the porn industry is perfect, it sure as shit isn't, but they will blame everything on porn. Erectile dysfunction, infertility, premature ejaculation, cheating, violence, rape, murder. All of it is porn's fault. I'm not even going over these individually, I'm just putting up posts of these women and complaining. So how about we get back to men? This is after all a dating sub, right? So you'd expect some dating tips. But if you follow these, I hope you're prepared to die alone.
When I'm out with my girls, I always play a bit bitchy.
A lot of the advice on this sub may seem counterintuitive and may actually prohibit women from getting into relationships. And that's because they are. And before we start, just know, this isn't just for women dating men. They give the same advice to lesbians. Communication is a joke to these women. One of the simplest lessons that I've learned from FDS was also one of the most important. Reject the "have you tried communicating" trope from Am I the Asshole in many dating subreddits. Why just communicate is problematic. We live in a culture where men generally get what they want when they ask for it, and where women generally don't. If he doesn't give you what you want, then you can leave. That's why communication is important. Stop talking to him at the very first sign of disinterest/laziness. Men respond better to silence versus communication. You know that stupid boomer joke about how the wife never lets the husband know what's wrong and just expects him to read her mind? Yeah, these women believe that, and some of them just get into weird mind games. When approaching doors or chairs, have both your hands softly clasped on your handbag, etc., and slow your pace. Mind your posture, very important here. This just gives him a couple of seconds to get in there and open the door/pull out the chair. If he doesn't, your hesitation gently signals that you were expecting him to, and if he notices and cares, he will do it next time. You can't be stuffy about doors. Sometimes it's just awkward for him to open them. I generally find 50% or more success rate is quite acceptable. What the hell? Also, despite things getting more egalitarian in the dating scene, they still don't believe a woman should ask a man out. And because there's no communication, if you see any red flags, you dump him fast. For the ladies who are dating, remember, the sooner you cut him off, the less it will hurt. At the first red flag, block and delete. Now, this wouldn't be so bad, except these red flags are... No sign is small if it reveals a mindset. Remember this, the smallest things are the hardest to hide, and one thing, no matter how small, can be connected to a million others. Trust your intuition, that's it. I don't care what he did or didn't do. I honor your feelings as deeply as your facts. I don't care if I have literally no evidence that you're cheating on me. I feel you are, so you are. Vetting strategy. How to read between the lines. Use power of deduction to read motivation/possibilities and how to make educated guesses. Please don't. Before people say that what I'm writing is playing games or what is unnecessary bullshit, unless you get really lucky and meet a high-value man right away, 99% of women will have to screen through men with ulterior motives. I just asked if you wanted to get coffee. How about don't live with your boyfriend before marriage? Yep, one of the most basic things you can do, live with your significant other to make sure you can handle that, they think is a bad thing. Sis, let me stop you right there. The moment you move in with a boyfriend is the moment you lose leverage in the relationship. You're giving up your independence in exchange for no commitment from him. How about just don't be open with your boyfriend? Don't tell him you're bisexual because then he'll just want a threesome. Don't share your trauma because he'll use it against you. Basically, just don't trust. Just never ever trust. If you're terrified to lose him, you must leave him. Daily reminder, a man's sexual attraction to you means nothing. If I want to have a sexual relationship with this person, yeah, it would probably mean something. The unconditional love mindset is toxic and you should refrain from it. There is no way to meet a high-value man. Don't use online dating. Don't make friends. Don't go to meetups. Don't get a hobby. Don't volunteer. Don't put yourself out there and meet people. Just stay and wait for that high-value man to come to you. And then we get this shit. Why it's important to date multiple guys. We're not talking polyamory here. The reason why it's important to date multiple guys at a time until you get serious with one is so you're not completely wasting your time. I've been seeing a few guys, getting to know them, going on dates, figuring out if we're compatible or not sleeping with any of these guys, BTW. Always keep your options open and don't put too much attention on any one guy until you've fully vetted him. So many guys out there are full of shit. These women are insane. Look, I'm fine with polyamory, but this isn't polyamory. This isn't even open relationships. This is just kind of cheating, and it's gonna get a lot of innocent men hurt. And speaking of hurt...
Just like that, when you grow up here, you can call me back.
So let's say you manage to find a high-value man who doesn't immediately dump your ass. It'll still be a shitty relationship because most of their strategies are just straight-up emotional and mental abuse. It can be small, like not getting your boyfriend any gifts. What are your ladies' opinion on this? Do men deserve a material gift? I think that Valentine's Day is for us women and my presence is the present. Women are the prize. You don't have to get him any gift, and don't buy him socks, underwear, or clothes in general. The man should buy you whatever you want, whenever you want, but you can't even buy him clothes for Christmas? These are the women who for every occasion will buy you those body wash, body spray, deodorant 3-packs. Women can dump a man for any reason and she's a queen, but if a man dumps a woman, it's only because of misogyny. My boyfriend doesn't want me to speak, dump him! You're right, it is pretty abusive behavior when your significant other controls who you talk to. But since these women believe that two heterosexual people of the opposite sex can never be friends, that means if he's too friendly with another woman, he's probably cheating on you, and he better sure as hell not be liking her pics on Instagram. After all, remember, you shouldn't have a social media at all. The day you got a message, female, to leave you alone is the day you gotta leave your man alone. The reason you get an uncomfortable feeling about that friend, your intuition picked up something was wrong about it. But he's trying to have his cake and eat it too, having you as a girlfriend and her as a friend. Just because he's not sleeping with her does not mean he's not cheating. So you can't have any female friends, and by the way, all of your male friends have to be high value as well. Christmas tip, put your boyfriend at the side of the family in case you need to cut him out of the picture later. Let him know he's disposable. Stress tests, how to test the high valueness of your partner. This seems very cruel, but it's not cruel at all, and it's just normal observation of his behavior in extraordinary situations. Always give men less than what they asked for, and they will work twice as hard to get it. Men simply don't value anything that you give him freely, and for which they didn't have to work for. Okay, hold on. Are we lazy or value hard work so much that we don't like things just given to us? To add to it, the more time, effort, work, energy, money men invest in you and have invested in you, the more they bond with you. In male sense of bonding, not female. Since they have invested so much resources in you, they have put so much of themselves into you, it becomes much more difficult for them to mistreat and devalue you. Because if they did, they would be essentially mistreating, disrespecting, and devaluing themselves. I feel like I'm reading the journal of a psychopath. Dog training and dating strategy. I just got a new puppy and since joining FDS have made a lot of funny but true parallels about dog training and dating that apply to both. That's not a good thing. If the advice is to treat men like dogs, you're getting bad advice. Reward good behavior, ignore bad behavior, positive reinforcement, set them up for success. What are you, his mom? Well, no, FDS condemns mommying your boyfriend or husband. Unless, of course, it's the stuff he wouldn't like, such as telling him what to do and who he can hang out with. Here's a story about a woman whose husband appears to be about as high level as you can get. He went out to dinner with some colleagues, but she told him she didn't want him going for drinks afterward. He did go for drinks afterward, and her response? I got into the car and went to my parents. It was one mistake. But even if he seems to be a high-value man in general, there is no room for another mistake like this. Now, some context. She was pregnant and was just in a car accident, so you probably agree that he should do what she wants, but given everything I've been saying, would you expect her to act any different if she wasn't pregnant and injured? Also remember, if the man doesn't want her to do something, she better dump him. Don't apologize to men to preserve the peace or their feelings. Men should have to submit resumes and cover letters for dates. Women really need to start slut-shaming men. Most of that man gotta have money stuff borders on financial abuse. Here's a post that literally says if a man doesn't perform oral sex on a woman, he's gay. So if a woman doesn't give blowjobs, does that mean she's gay? No 50-50 in the bedroom. 50-50 does the same harm to your sex life that it does to other parts of your relationship. When you follow FDS principles, you also do it in the bedroom. And of course, there's the classic not letting men express their emotions. Women should be able to pour all their emotions onto you even if it's the first date, but if you reveal sob stories too fast or share past traumas, then you are a low-value man. Details of the elusive high-value man in practice. He enjoys listening to you and would drive conversations towards you, not him. A high-value man would never complain or ask for emotional support. The conversation is largely about you or what you want to know about him. Don't be an empath, queens. And you're not allowed to go to therapy because it'll just teach you how to become a gaslighter. Every woman, friend, roommate, acquaintance I've ever known who's looked through a man's phone or device has always had their suspicions confirmed. Trust your gut and don't let anyone shame you for doing so. If your significant other doesn't trust you, please dump them. Here's a post for International Men's Day that basically gives statistics like how about 3/4 of suicides are men, most homicide victims are men, and male domestic violence abuse victims exist. Oh, and also check your balls because testicular cancer is bad. This should be uncontroversial. Let's look at the comments. I'm sorry, I will never believe that 40% number. Where are the stats to back that up? Also, I'm so happy my husband either A, has never heard of Men's Day, or B, knows better than to tell me it's Men's Day. I have never felt so bad for someone I've never met. Since abusive men love to flip the script and claim to be the ones being abused, the abuse domestic violence statistics out there at the rate at which men are abused are useless. Lundy Bancroft, a man with extensive experience in this field who wrote the book on abuse, Why Does He Do That? Inside the Minds of Angry and Controlling Men, does not find men who claim to be victims of abuse credible when talking about heterosexual adult relationships. On the contrary, he thinks you can go ahead and safely assume a man is abusive himself if he claims to be the victim. I was thinking of maybe reading this, but doing the bare minimum of research, I found out that Lundy Bancroft is an anti-vaxxer. Women fail at suicide more often than men because we're more selfless. It doesn't matter how depressed a woman may be and how much she may want to die, she'll have difficulty justifying putting her loved ones through the experience of her suicide. This is one of the most sobering differences between men and women. Even in a pit of despair, women are still thinking about others. I hope you step on a rusty nail, you fucking cunt. The next couple I'm not sure if you would classify as abuse, it's just implying that men don't fear for their life and safety. Here's a post talking about a mass shooting that happened in Canada where the shooter told all of the men to leave the room before killing 14 women, and they blamed the men who left. AKA mass shooting survivors who just lost several of their classmates for not taking down the gunman. Even comparing not stopping a mass shooter with not stopping your friends from sexually harassing someone. I have mixed opinions on Big Joel, some of his stuff I like, some I don't, but one of the ones I do like is his video on this very shooting called Twitter and Empathy that I suggest you give a watch to see why this is victim-blamey bullshit. And this one's just weird. I'm convinced that men invented patriarchy because they saw how male livestock are treated and they didn't want to be subjected to the same fate. Okay, so most of the post is talking about how most male livestock are castrated and eaten since you only need a few males to breed. I'm convinced that men living in early agricultural communities who are just starting to figure out animal husbandry saw what happened to male livestock and were like, holy shit, I don't want to lose my balls. Better create an entire social hierarchy and pit myself at the top before the women get any ideas. That's why patriarchy exists, folks, because we men were afraid we'd get our balls cut off if we weren't in charge. Now, of course, it would be unethical to castrate and or slaughter human males. Obviously, I am not advocating violence against men. You totally masturbate to castration fantasies, don't you? Hey, I'm not kink shaming. Just hypocritical. My favorite posts are their lists of warning signs and red flags to look out for to see if you are in an abusive relationship, because this shit community usually crosses off most of them. And you know what, for all these women talk about vetting, making sure he's not using you, seems they aren't very happy when they get vetted. So why did I do this? Well, catharsis for one. These women are the radical feminists the reactionaries think all feminists are. They do not understand men at all, thinking we all have high self-esteem, which if you ever talk to a teenage boy who is even slightly chubby, you know is bullshit. They'll find little red flags in everything we do and say to try and say we're all bad and unworthy of love, respect, or empathy, and then when you call them out, they'll just say, but men did it to women first.
They say two wrongs don't make a right. I guess I'm living proof that that's true.
And at the same time, they treat other women like little children who think they have the same needs, wants, and desires that they do. And if they disagree, then they're just trying to get attention. But I also wanted to talk about it for a lot of the same reasons people talk about the Manosphere. To let the women who are in it, or maybe thinking about getting into it, to avoid it, to get out. This is a cult. There are actually several posts stating how members have lost friends because of some of the stuff they believe in now, and in some cases, they actually grow to resent their own families. And any criticism is them just not understanding. Does your therapist not subscribe to your deranged worldview? Well, then she's just being condescending. Did you get banned for being involved with FDS? Well, then they're just a bunch of clowns. It's okay, honey. You're safe here. Your life will be different. You may lose some friends, but it'll all be worth it. Even if you ignore all the bigotry, this is still a terrible community if you want to de-radicalize red-pilled men, because this is just confirming their worldview. And look, some of their advice have actually helped them and may have even possibly saved their lives. Some of them talk about being in abusive relationships, and FDS helped them either escape or work through the trauma. You should have standards. You shouldn't be doing everything in a relationship, and you should value being single rather than be in a relationship you really don't want to be in. But female dating strategy is not the right way to learn that. It certainly shouldn't be the only thing you base your entire idea of relationships around. And I know I'm probably coming across as just some entitled man saying the manosphere was right. So, here, I'll say this. Fuck the manosphere. But fuck female dating strategy just as much. In fact, these two communities kind of bring up something I've been thinking about for a while. You know how boomers love to complain about younger generations not getting married and spending their 20s and 30s obsessing over kid stuff? But in my opinion, being a man-child or woman-child is not being an adult, but playing video games or watching cartoons or eating sugary snacks or not being married or anything like that. It's being an adult and still acting like the opposite sex is some kind of hive mind group meant to make your life miserable. The whole girls have cooties and girls rule boys drool is supposed to be something you grow out of by the time you're 10. The women suck, men are trash mentality because of a couple of bad relationships is something you're supposed to grow out of once you hit your 20s. So, to the Manospherians and female dating strategy and all the ladies who agree with it, I just have one thing left to say. Grow the hell up!